What's up, my wizards? Dev from SBMTG Place down there. We have finally got a deck tech for you. The first deck tech of Oath of the Gatewatch Standard Season. Waiting on this. I have got something like 8 deck techs in the next 2 weeks lined up for you guys. I know a lot of you want to see things like red-white allies. Is it aggro? Got them coming. I just need a couple of days to work the kinks out. This I've been working on for at least a month now, and I've got a lot of experience with it. A lot of things to say, and a lot of confidence in it. This is Big Red, an archetype that I've loved for years and years and years, and I think we might actually have the stuff in Standard to make it work. Let's check it out. What is Big Red? I know a lot of newer players have never heard of this deck before. Big Red is basically a mono-red mid-range deck that plays a lot of removal and very efficient creatures at the lower end of its curve, and plays a lot of huge, dumb threats at the top end of its curve, which we have a lot of in Standard right now. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with the creatures here. We're playing 15 creatures overall. Doesn't sound like a lot, but an awful lot of them are really stupid threats. Started off with the 1-drop that's not even a 1-drop. Dragonmaster Outcast. Now, we're not playing any actual 1-drops in the deck. This is usually a 6-drop, if not a 5-drop or 7-drop. Usually a 6-drop. And does a ton of work for you later on in the game. Notoriously tough to deal with late in the game after hands have played out and everything. And a great top deck too. So awesome way to create huge flying guys, which is what Big Red is all about. A perfect Big Red creature he is. So let's try at least 2 Outcasts. 4 copies of Hangarback Walker, basically to start off the 2-drops here. I mean, he usually plays the 2-drop, sometimes a 4-drop, but often as a 2-drop. He's got great synergy with our lady and man here, Pia and Kiran Nalaar. We're playing 3 whole copies of that. Started off as 0 and I thought I'd play 1. Ultimately ended up playing 3 because the card is so ridiculously sick. I was playtesting with a guy actually just earlier today, and he was like, why not just play 4 Pia and Kiran? The card seems better than Thunderbreak Regent. And we do want to play Regent so that we can play Draconic Roar, which is one of the best pieces of removal in the format. But even in the 4-drop slot, I think we can afford to play 7 4-drops. This is Big Red after all. And Pia and Kiran just has such ridiculous synergy with Hangarback Walker, and is good by itself too. You know, creating 4 power, 2 of it flies, you can sack the things for damage, killing guys, hitting to the face. I mean, Pia and Kiran, especially combined with Hangarback Walker, is one of the many, many paths to victory that this deck has. I'll talk about that a little bit in this video. The deck has many, many different ways that it can close the game out. And this combination of cards is one of the better and more reliable ones, able to go wide on people. And even if we can't swing through for damage, incremental damage over the course of the game, just 2, sometimes we can do like 6 damage over the course of the game with Pia and Kiran just sacking stuff. So that's pretty freaking awesome too. 4 copies, I've already mentioned them, of Thunderbreak Regent in the deck. Just the other amazing 4-drop red creature in the format right now. Just worth playing because of Draconic Roar and you know, other reasons. Obviously, if they try to target him, they're taking some damage. He's really above curve at 4 mana, 4/4 flying. That's just great. So I just don't see any reason not to play Thunderbreak Regent. He's another way to end the game, too, for that matter. Ends the game an awful lot. And to finish off the creatures, 2 copies of Goblin Dark Dwellers, the absolute freaking all-star card, man. Dark Dwellers is, you know, better than I thought it was going to be at first glance, to be honest. And I thought it was going to be a good card. But 9 times out of 10, this is going to recast an Exquisite Firecraft or a Hordeling Outburst. Those are 2 things that it recasts most. But you'll also recast Roasts and Smaller Burn with this. You know, a lot of the times it's just going to take out a guy and be a 4/4 body. People discount how amazing this body is, especially if you're taking out the biggest threat on their side of the board with a Roast or an Exquisite Firecraft that you're recasting, and you're now getting the biggest threat on the board in a 4/4 with a form of evasion. So just Dark Dwellers is actually really, really good. It's no Snapcaster, but Snapcaster's not a 4/4 menace either. So just leaving behind a body like that is incredible. And if you are able to recast a Hordeling Outburst, sure, it's not removal, but you're getting something like 7 power, some of it has menace, you know, all for 5 mana. It's actually good. This sometimes feels like a Siege Gang commander, but then again, so does Pia and Kiran. Just like all of our creatures are Siege Gang commanded. But in any case, this is actually just ridiculous. Mostly if you're going to recast Exquisite Firecraft, you'll be taking something out or dealing 4 to the dome and getting a huge body. So Dark Dwellers is just incredible. we're playing 4 Planeswalkers in the deck, starting with 2 copies of Sarkhan the Dragonspeaker. I believe this is the first card we cover that rotates in a few months, and there's only a couple in the deck. Although it will suck to lose Sarkhan, he's an amazing piece. Either creature removal or a hasty guy that flies over and hits him in the face. Or kills a Planeswalker. He can just kill a Planeswalker if he flies over, which is also super important. Sarkhan is just super versatile, and if we're going to play 4 or 5 drops in the deck, I do want to split it 2 and 2 between this and Goblin Dart Dwellers. Just both great cards. And to finish off the Planeswalkers, only a couple of them, 2 copies of Shaundra Flamecaller, which I have had a lot of play experience with since they spoiled her. And she's fairly versatile, you guys. You know, you can obviously just neg 4 when she hits the board, killing most things on the table. Or you can just neg 3. You know, I've been able to do that against like tokens-based decks and stuff. Neg 2 or 3 and just like take, it's like Radiant Flames. That's actually still not bad at all. Her 0 ability is insane, essentially allowing you to see at least 3 cards a turn if you're just top decking, and that's amazing in a deck like this. Just, you know, something that you play when you run out of cards in your hand. This will usually be the last thing you play. You won't have any cards left in your hand, and you just start drawing cards. That's incredible. The deck wants exactly that. And against, you know, decks that are thin on creatures and such, it can just end the game by swinging for 6 every turn. So there's a lot to like about Shaundra, and it's been pretty good in testing so far. And you'd be surprised how many times you just -2 or 3 when she hits the board, and you get to keep her around and you kill most of the stuff on their side, including your own Hangarback Walker, by the way, popping it. So that's another good synergy there. This Shaundra's pretty good, you guys. 16 spells in the deck in total, and they're all instants or sorceries. We're not playing Oath of Shaundra. She's probably mad about that. Some of you guys might be too. I mean, we are playing Planeswalkers. We could play Oath of Shaundra, but at the end of the day, I decided against it. We are playing, however, just to start off early game removal here, very important to us, 2 copies of Wild Slash and 3 copies of Fiery Impulse. Both very important. There's still a lot of early game creatures we have to worry about, you know. Mantis Rider, which a turned on Fiery Impulse can deal with, and again, there's 16 instants and sorceries. We will turn on Spell Mastery pretty easily. So it can take out that, it can take a Monastery Mentor, even if they get a Prowess trigger, that's important. Even just the Wild Slash can take out things like Jace, obviously important, Soulfire Grandmaster, Monastery Swiftspear if it doesn't have a Prowess trigger, and Fiery Impulse can take it out if it does. So just a lot of very early game creatures that we have to worry about right now, and we don't cover the early game well with our selection of burn. So let's play as much of the viable burn as we can, and this is obviously very viable burn. Before I move on too, Wild Slash can often take out a Planeswalker, and with the new Nissa floating around and only having 3 starting loyalty, it's good to have something like Wild Slash that can just go straight to Nissa and kill her. 1 main deck copy of Roast here, and there are 2 more in the sideboard, so that we can deal with Siege Rhino, something that we're not great against, and we don't have a lot of main deck options against unless we want a 2-for-1 ourselves, which we obviously don't want to do. But Roast takes out Siege Rhino, and everything in between that doesn't fly, you know, so is also good against small, you know, smaller creatures and things like Anafenza even. So, all the way down to like Monastery Swiftspear. So, Roast is very versatile. I was playing 2, ended up cutting 1 so I could play a Pia and Kiran. 4 copies of Draconic Roar in the deck, and yeah, we've got 4 Thunderbreak Regent. But we've also got 2 Dragonmaster Outcast. That makes dragons, so late game is a fine top deck. And Sarkhan can become a dragon, so late game, fine top deck too. You know, obviously we're trying to, on the second turn, reveal Thunderbreak Regent, kill their 2-drop, you know, go from there. That's the ideal situation. The card is still good on the 5th or 6th turn. You'd be surprised. And dealing an extra 3 damage to them is obviously super boss. So I think this is one of the best removal options we could possibly play. And you could argue Oath of Shaundra over this, and I could listen to those arguments, but mostly I just want to deal as much damage to them and kill their guy as I possibly can all at one time, and that's definitely what this does. 4 copies of Exquisite Firecraft, a super duper all-star in this deck right here, is often recast with the Goblin Dart Dwellers, meaning it has often taken out 2 creatures by that point, or it's done 8 to their face, which it will do against control, you know. This is a great, just ridiculous card against control. We will turn on Spell Mastery, 16 instants and sorceries. So just having an uncounterable 4 to the face is actually just really amazing, you guys. And it takes out pretty much everything south of Siege Rhino, which is good in this format. Once Siege Rhino rotates, this deck is going to be even better. And I've already scored this deck a little higher than I thought it would score to begin with, but we'll get to that in a second. Honestly, Exquisite Firecraft I can't praise enough. Just the card is bonkers. 2 copies of Hordeling Outburst to finish off the main deck here. This is definitely a flexible slot. I had 2 slots left over, and went with Hordeling Outburst a couple of weeks ago, and it's worked out really well. Works against more than one kind of deck, you know, against decks with big creatures or lots of creatures. It creates mid-game blockers, which is very, very important, so we can get to the drops we need to get to. Also, against slower decks, or decks that have, you know, a smaller number of creatures, it can be, you know, actually a very aggressive card, too, so that's good. I like everything about Hordeling Outburst, and along with Pia and Kiran and Hangarback Walker, it allows us to go pretty wide if we want to, so I like the options it gives us, too, and recast with the Dark Dwellers. Pretty good there. 25 lands in the deck right now, and this is a pretty good spread right here. I just want to spend just a second on Sea Gate Wreckage. This card is amazing. It doesn't look like it would be great. We're playing a bunch of 4, 5, and 6 drops, you know, but by turn 6 or 7, we are out of cards. We've expended all of our resources, and if we don't have a Shaundra Flamecaller, we have to draw cards. The Sea Gate Wreckage does that amazingly well at minimal cost to us, you know. We can still play something like 19 Mountains. That's plenty of red sources all day long. We get to play Blighted Gorge so that we can basically turn on or activate our Sea Gate Wreckage. You know, we can pay the cost for it at least. And obviously, one Sea Gate will pay the cost for another. That's good too. But I don't want to go overboard on the Wreckages. I just like that we can play Blighted Gorge. That's a fine card. And it's got some, you know, synergy we can activate Sea Gate Wreckage. But Wreckage is actually ridiculous. Over the course of a game, you can draw 3, 4, even 5 extra cards. And that can make a huge difference. The card is great. Here's our sideboard, preliminarily at least. This is what I've been rolling with for a little while here, but it definitely, I think, could use some work. Although we do have some powerful options. We obviously play Rending Volley. Wild Slash is good against smaller decks. Obviously, we have Roast against Siege Rhinos. Arc Lightning is good because I don't really want to play like Kozilek's Return, and I don't want to play the huge Eldrazi to turn on Return. I could see doing that. Arc Lightning is better because we, at least to me, because we can target their guys exclusively or their face. It's good to recast with Goblin Dark Dwellers. That's really cool. And we don't run the risk of killing our own Hangarback Walker. We do a lot of work trying to go wide at times in this deck, and I don't want to just erase all of that work by playing something like Return. Scab-Clan Berserker has been just almost main deckable. The card is amazing against almost everything. Outpost Siege is good against decks that you want to outdraw. And also good if we're trying to go wide, you know. When those creatures leave the battlefield, they'll do incremental damage, which can be very good against some decks. And then 2 more Hordeling Outbursts because it works against so many different things. I wanted to play 4 and I thought that was dumb. But I do think the sideboard could use a little bit of work, and there's definitely some flexible slots. Let me know what you guys think. Here are your power rankings for the deck, a final score of 69 points. And I had to stop myself from scoring on 70. I dropped a point from the board because I definitely think the board is slightly weak, although we do answer some very problematic cards out of the board. So I wanted it to be a 50-50, you know, board in game 1, but I stopped myself. I don't want to judge this deck too highly, even though I've been playing it for a month now. I think it actually does have a shot. The deck is really good, although, you know, if I had to predict Standard, I don't think it would be a thing until after rotation. If it's ever even a thing at all, I'm not totally sure, but I would take this up to an F&M. I think it's actually incredibly flexible, and it does have a lot of versatile win conditions. A lot of different ways to do it. You can fly over with Thunderbreak Regent, you can make flyers with Outcast, you can fly over with Sarkhan, you can Chandra Flamecaller and kill them that way, you know, with 3/1s. You can Pia and Kiran plus Hangarback Walker them to death, you know. There's just so many different paths to victory. You can burn them to death. I mean, I'm not even done. There's like 6 or 7 that I just listed off right there. So many different paths to victory. The deck is fairly versatile and has a lot of different things that it can do, especially, obviously, in the mid to late game. So, the deck is really, really strong. It's performed well against a number of different things in testing, and I fully recommend it. I really want to know what you guys think. Seriously. Well, that's all I've got for now. What are we doing next time? A whole bunch of stuff. I've already mentioned that you guys want red-white allies, equipment allies specifically. You want budget is it aggro, and I'm thinking about adding green to that for Tarka's command to become immense, make Teamer aggro. And some people want Jeskai too, so they can add Defiant Strike, Mana Strike. A lot of stuff we can do with that deck. Cynic Flash is a deck I want to make. I want to make Goblins, green-white tokens I've been working with for almost a month. I want to make like 4 different Remorseless Punishment decks with like Kalitas and stuff. There's like 1,000 things I want to do, but I also want to know what you guys want me to do, because over the course of the next couple of weeks, I plan on putting out anywhere between 8 and 10 deck techs. I mean, this is a very busy time and my favorite time to play Magic. So, in any case, let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know what you guys thought of this one, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the content, do me a real quick favor. Just hit the thumbs up button. It takes no time, and it helps like a ton. And it'd be awesome if you did that, because I work really hard and I want, I want the likes. It makes me feel good. Share this video if you haven't ever done that. That's also an easy process. Comment, do all the things I've told you to do. So subscribe if you're new. If you haven't gotten around to doing that yet, I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. I'm Deb from SBMTG. Thanks for watching my Wizards.